You know where you are!
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 468. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Robert DeLeo and Ed Kowalczyk. How are you guys?
Great, Brandon. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm living the dream. I mean, my God,
Yeah.
the soundtrack of my youth right now, I'm talking to right now, Stone Temple Pilots and live. And before we get going, let me just apologize if you hear my 1-year-old in the background. He's playing with blocks. You know, he's currently distracted by my wife, so hopefully if it gets too out of hand, we'll handle it. But
Don't worry. Don't worry.
that
All
actually
good.
cool, and that actually lends itself to my first question because I hope not to make you guys feel old. But when these two seminal albums came out, Throwing Cropper and Purple, I was 11. I mean, my God, the formative years. So I would love, as we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of these landmark albums, if you have like a specific, when you hear and someone talks to you about that record, what's the first memory that pops up for each of you during that time in your careers? So maybe start with you, Robert, if you don't mind.
There's many different memories. There's high points and low points, and there was a lot of it was like a whirlwind, thinking about that time. But we finished the record and it came out, and that's what really matters. And looking, I think one of the high points now is looking at it now at this point in time, being able to celebrate 30 years of that record and these records, Throwing Copper and Purple. That's a right now, in the now is a special moment for me right now.
I say 1994, and is one of the best years obviously in my lifetime, but just in general, is in rock and roll. I mean, again, Throwing Cropper, Ed. I mean, could be the record for you. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things that go through your mind, but perhaps is there one thing you're most proud of when you look back?
Yeah, a lot, so much. I mean, one of the things I remember specifically, and it's regarding the song "Lightning Crashes," because it's such a not obvious single. 5 minutes 20 seconds long, and the chorus doesn't come in for 2 minutes, and it was just such a strange song I had written, but it was my favorite, and I felt like it was this epic song. Landed about 5 songs into the album, and I remember thinking, this is going to be a song that people, I think, are really going to like it. I think they're really going to know the band with this song. And I remember universally being told by the record company, there's no way in hell it'll ever be a single, and it'll never come out. It's too long. And so that sticks out to me because people ask, hey, did you have a sense of it? And I was like, yeah, I actually did. I actually did have a sense of that song being special, but no one else did. And so, I love that because it really shows, it's such a testament to the ethos of like just pushing and working and coming from the heart and like being earnest and knowing that you got something going on and you just want to get it out there. And there was such a fire, such an energy to the band, to the music, to the whole period we were living in. But yeah, that was my memory, was like, oh, so every time I play this song now, it's up here. It makes me smile because I know how unlikely and magical all this really was.
Just to think that record labels, what do they know? Just like what an iconic song that is and became unbelievable.
Right.
Robert, is there a song off Purple that specifically sticks out for you, whether it be the one that was the most challenging to record or your favorite, just as any song that sticks out for whatever reason you may have?
Well, I think, we did a 14-month tour of Core, and during that time being on the road, some of those songs were written. The one that really sticks out to me is Interstate Love Song. It started out as a bossa nova song, and I wrote that in the back of the RV, heading down the highway, hence the name Interstate Love Song. But that one, I think I had a lot to say. No, I had a lot to say on that song. I think it was maybe in a way trying to top Plush. I had that pressure of writing something that was going to be, I don't know if it's as good. I don't really judge songs, especially my own, but just the experience of being in that moment with Scott and Dean and Eric and creating that record was here we are 30 years later.
Uh, just Interstate Love Song and Lightning Crashes. On the fact that I'm talking about these songs now that are still in my regular rotation. These albums still in my regular rotation. And of course, we're also here not just talking about the 30th anniversary, but this mega tour that I wish was a little bit closer to me. The closest date is Jersey because I'm in Queens right now, and because I got to start taking my son to concerts, and this would be a perfect one. But I digress. Stone Temple Pilots live, Soul Asylum, and Our Lady Peace. I'm a fan of all these bands. So
Great.
how? Like I shouldn't say how. When did you two first meet? I have to imagine it wasn't recently with this tour. Was it back in the day on tour? Was it on a Woodstock? When did you guys first become, friends?
We probably met for the first time we played live in Stone Temple Pilots played together in San Diego, San Diego Street Scene Festival. I think it was maybe 98, 99. And well, I'm sure we met then, but then we didn't see each other again. I think we played also the Rolling Rock Festival
Yes, we did.
out in Western Pennsylvania. And but we never toured together. But I was always a massive fan. And we were together last year. We performed together for a special event out in Napa, California, and we all reconnected. And by the end of the night, we were pretty sure we were going to tour together. And then 2 weeks later, it actually was put together or whatever. It happened pretty quickly, but it was just really natural and organic the way it happened. I couldn't be happier.
I love that. Do you guys have matching cowboy hats or no? Or is that just a Robert thing?
Yeah. Oh, you know it. I'm saving mine for the tour. I got 3 or 4 buckets upstairs.
You guys are cheating. I'm 3 hours before, so I had to wake up at 7 a.m. So I put on my hat because you don't want to see the other me at 7 a.m. I don't think anyone does.
Well, thank you, Robert, for getting up early. This I really appreciate this. I understand. I just shaved my head, so that's why I'm allowing you to see me without the hat. Hey, and I got you. I couldn't do the
Okay,
I can never do the rat tail. I don't know. I was never that cool.
nah, yeah, skip it.
Skip it.
Skip
Okay.
it. It's high maintenance. High maintenance.
Okay. I don't my wife
It's hard
would
to get back there.
That's true. You would never think. Let me ask, because I know I only have you here for a few more minutes, and I don't know if you could tell by the name of the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. My son screaming in the background like Axl Rose, or the Guns N' Roses posters. I do a 6 degrees of GNR bacon with this podcast, like connecting the dots instead of just a normal rock podcast, things like that. So, with Ed. You played with Slash in 2003 at Peace on the Beach to cover John
Yes.
Imagine, which is on YouTube if somebody hasn't seen it. Beautiful rendition. How did that come about? And tell me about that experience,
Oh
please.
my gosh, it was so awesome. It was yeah, it was a peace concert. Uh, you know, and I can't remember. I got a phone call. Hey, just show up in Venice. We're throwing up a stage. We're gonna have a peace concert, and you come sing Imagine or something. Just come. And I remember said okay. I just showed up down there in Venice on the beach, and before I knew it, it was like, oh, and Slash is going to play it with you. And I met him, and I think 20 minutes later, we were on stage singing Imagine together, and he was playing guitar, and he's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, guitarists of all time. One of them for sure. He's such an amazing person and such a melodic player, just mind blowing. Um, yeah, and I did see that someone sent me the YouTube clip a few years ago, and I think I did have my tail. I think
Yeah,
I brought the tail back then, so that was probably one of the last times you ever saw it.
that's funny. Yeah, I was watching the video yesterday. I was like, oh, he's still at the tail then. I thought it's been gone for a while, and he was nice and all right. We won't go there. Memories.
Yeah.
You said it's hard to upkeep, and Robert, I know you've performed with Slash many a time, but this is coming from a listener. I wish I can get all my listener questions in, but I know we gotta bounce in a moment. This is from Chad Bruce. You know, Slash obviously not just with GNR, but with Velvet Revolver. So I would love to know your opinion of when Scott was in Velvet and what you thought of that band, Velvet Revolver, and what was maybe going through your head when that was going on.
Oh man, those guys are all friends, and to see them musically get together and do that, I mean, it was at a time when I think Scott, needed to do something different, and yeah, no, we're all friends. I mean, everybody talks about Slash's guitar playing, and I always think of him as being one of the nicest human beings I know. I mean, we talk every once in a while, and he's always a sweetheart. I
Mhm.
love him. He's great person. And we get to share the stage, whether it's with Aerosmith or Joe Perry or Phil Collin. We just, whatever we always have a great time. We always appreciate each other's talents. It's great. It's great moments.
Well, this was a great moment for me. Ed, Robert, thank you guys so much. I hope we get to do this again. And just thank you for all the music throughout the years. You're both legends, icons, and keep doing what you're
Okay.
doing. And one day, me and Baby Brownstone will see you guys in concert. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it.
Take
Sounds
care.
good.
Have a
Take
good day.
care.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care, man.
I just realized that if I say Baby Brownstone out of context, they probably have no idea what I'm talking about. So yeah, I mean, obviously, Baby Brownstone, Harrison Rex, my son, 15 months old. Hopefully, he wasn't screaming too much in the background because that probably doesn't make for a wonderful listening experience. But I was told that because I haven't listened to the episode yet, but I was told by my coworker Mike, who was doing that radio tour. I've explained that ad nauseum, I think, by this point of the podcast. He told me after during our meeting when he was talking about the entire tour with my boss and my other coworkers, and he asked how that tour went. He's like, "Yeah, it went really well. Both of them were extremely nice, but they really loved Brandon. I mean, they loved the fact that his baby was there." Hey, so I mean, I love him, but if he adds to my interview and it makes my guest happy, that's a bonus. Even when he's not physically on camera, just his presence can be felt through the screen. This was a bucket list that I never expected. I mean, especially Robert DeLeo. I mean, and Kowalczyk. Absolutely. I mean, again, 1994, I was 11 years old, talking about formative years of just music and rock and roll and what I would become. Because Guns N' Roses, obviously, but 94, they were already essentially broken up. The Spaghetti Incident already came out. They kind of lived their life already. And obviously, I became a fan and would go back but growing up and you have these living, breathing bands that are really just in their prime, like Stone Temple Pilots and Live, and moments like this, talking to them, it's just you realize, wow, I've been listening to these guys for my entire life. And you meet them, and they're really nice. They're really cool. So that was just a special moment. I hope, excuse me. Of course, I hope next time it goes for longer. But happy with the time spent, happy to get him on, and especially lifting up the curtain. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this because I've spoke about this ad nauseum, maybe too much. But with the challenges of getting Duff on the podcast in the past and Slash recently with Orgy of the Damned, I've told you the stories. I'll condense it a little bit now that I was turned down by their radio rep even though it was through my job, just like this one, which doesn't guarantee me anything. But I was turned down because I'm appetite for distortion, and that could be deemed as negative. Worried to go back to Duff and Slash with a list of stations they're going to be interviewing with. And if they don't know who I am, appetite for distortion, what is this? Then that makes that rep look bad. I mean, it sounds maybe overreacting, but at the same time, if what she has expressed to me, he's been in that position before and it's not fun. So I got to respect he's doing his job as much as it hurts my feelings, as much as like I don't deserve anything, but maybe I finally earned it. Whatever feelings, it's kind of okay. That's his decision. Reason I bring that up now, that same guy, no pushback at all. He put on this tour. He allowed me to interview Robert and Ed. So who knows? Maybe this was just like, it's always been in my head. This guy was always like, I'm sorry, I just can't have you interview Guns N' Roses guys right now. Maybe until they promote something Guns N' Roses. And in my head, I'm thinking I'm being blackballed or turned down because I'm just a silly little podcast or something like that. That's all in my head, I guess. No pushback, but fine. Interview went fine. And you heard my GNR related questions. They were really nothing. Even what could have maybe been an issue, asking Robert about Velvet Revolver, was a non-issue because you just don't know where he's going to go with Scott. But that was all positive, so no worries there. So that was just a fun episode and an unexpected. I was like expecting to be turned down, and I wasn't. And I'm excited that all of you were really excited for it. Again, I wish it was longer, but you never know. I think it's like, here's an example, which is going to be the next episode. Michael Schenker. Michael Schenker, I had on about 5 years ago, and I think I only had him for 10 minutes. Because that was through my job. It's already in the can, so I know how long I spoke to him for. About 25 minutes, a half an hour. I recorded it. It's done. And you're going to hear Michael Schenker. I don't know if it might be next episode or the one after. Probably next episode. Talk all about Axl Rose's contribution to his record. You're going to get all of that information. So I hope it's not going to be 5 years before I interview Ed Kowalczyk and Robert DeLeo again, but it's just laying a path and me building continuing to build a resume of who's on this podcast, what we can do, and getting bigger and better guests. And it's just a lot of fun for me, as it is hopefully for you. You guys make it fun for me, because if nobody listens, I wouldn't be doing this. So thank you. And while on that note, last episode that I dedicated to Lucy Blue Night and spoke about the loss of Slash's stepdaughter, and talk about my experiences with losing my dad to depression. It's when something like that happens in pop culture, it always affects me. How can it not? And since I'm a radio guy, I just want to talk. Or you see a lot of misconceptions and misguided conversations happening online, and you just want to talk. But who's going to listen? That's what I tell myself, despite being in radio for 20 plus years. I'm like, who's going to listen to me? Who cares? So when I initially put out a comment on social media that I was thinking about doing this, and that support that you gave me the courage to do it, to record 45 minutes of myself talking about my feelings and our feelings and everything. And I was happy with it. I mean, I slept on it thinking maybe should I redo it? Should I add more to it? No, just don't Chinese democracy it. Just leave it as is. And I put it out, and just the response from you has been so overwhelmingly positive and good. So thank you. If I've helped you, if you just learned more about me and you care about my story, thank you. It was just it was good to get that off my chest, and I'm glad that it's out there. So I'm glad that I did that episode. I wish I'm sorry I had to be under the circumstances, but we will talk about mental health, continued to do so as much as we talk about Guns N' Roses. Maybe not but enough. When it's appropriate, we're going to continue to talk about it. It's not going anywhere. We're going to continue to fight the stigma to try to survive this crazy world. And that's what this podcast is all about. While we talk about mental health, or we talk about rock and roll and Guns N' Roses, whatever, you are joining me here in Appetite for Distortion to get away from all life's bullshit and have fun. Okay? So the conversation continues in between the broadcasts on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. New website, afdpod.com. You can find old episodes. You can read articles I've put up. Whether they're from my interviews that other people wrote, like Ultimate Classic Rock or Loudwire, or interviews or articles that I've written, I should say. I reposted an old, I don't even say it's like a review. Actually, Dave Kushner kind of laughed at me on Instagram because I tagged him. I wrote my experience at Velvet Revolver 2004 when I saw them for the first time, and I still have access to my live journal back then. So I decided to put that up on afdpod.com with some of my old pictures and that I took from back then. And Dave Kushner, of course, from Velvet Revolver, commented, he's like, this is funny for two reasons. One, I remember that I had to invite my wife's entire family to that show because they were from Jersey. And he's like, this really isn't a review. It's more about your experience. I'm like, all right, fine. It's like you're talking to early 20s Brando writing in his emo live journal. I wasn't thinking that this would ever be like public one day. So things like that. I interviewed, I wrote about Slash's Orgy of the Damned. So there's a review up there. And speaking of which, I'm either going to put an article up just like I did with Orgy of the Damned, or I'll do a podcast review of going to the show. It did not rain. I'll give you a sneak preview of what I want to say. It rained earlier in the day. It's what caused us to miss Robert Randolph and ZZ Ward. So we didn't see them. However, ZZ Ward, future guest in Appetite for Distortion. So stick around for that. I didn't get a chance to see her live, but I will get a chance to interview her. Got a chance to see the legendary Keb Mo. Wow, was he good. Wow, was his band good. The crowd was eating him up. And then Slash was incredible. The band, Teddy Zigzag, everybody was incredible. Just an amazing time. And I hope it's not just a one summer thing, that this is, the blues version of the Warped Tour for a while or something like that. I'll break down a full review again, either on the podcast or on afdpod.com. So stick around for that. And so when is that coming? When are these next episodes with ZZ Ward and Michael Schenker and maybe, just maybe, Dave Kushner will be back on the podcast. It's been a few years, and I'm hoping Zoom if it happens. Oh, and something that I keep forgetting to mention this because I said this like I don't know how many episodes ago. I was trying to mess with like maybe the distribution of the audio portion of the podcast and was going to get rid of it on SoundCloud and use something else. Ixnay. If you remember that, we're up on SoundCloud. We should be up on every platform. If we're up on a platform that you would like us to be on, just let me know. And also I had mentioned a while ago that I got 2 yeses for interviews. And sometimes this is frustrating. It's frustrating like when you ask out a girl and you just overthink it until it finally happens. And this is kind of what's happening with Dave Kushner. I'm like, you said yes, but I know you're busy and I'm not getting like a set date, but I think it's going to happen now. It's just has taken a long time since the initial yes. Same thing. I'm hoping to get Nico Hoon, Shannon Hoon's, the late Shannon Hoon's daughter, back on the podcast. And I was reached out to by someone representing. Oh my God, why am I forgetting? It's so good. Rod Jackson. Sorry, Rod Jackson. It's been a morning. So Rod Jackson, of course, from Slash's Snake Pit. I don't really know. I think he's working on a new record. It was somebody else on his behalf that said Rod wants to come back on the podcast, and this was a few months ago, and I haven't really gotten an update since. So Rod Jackson, hopefully. Nico Hoon, hopefully. Dave Kushner, hopefully. ZZ Ward is confirmed. And Michael Schenker is in the can. So that's at least what's to come on the podcast. So when we see all that, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, I don't know if soon is the word, but you'll see it.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.